Good morning. Sally and Simon Glass, standing here to my right, have agreed to speak with the press today for three reasons. First, they want the world to know who Christian was and how much they loved him. Second, they want to correct the misleading and oftentimes false statements put out by the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Department that have resulted in even more trauma to this amazing family. And finally, those responsible for Christian's death have yet to be held accountable. And the Glass family is calling on everyone to cry for justice for Christian. So we're going to start with Simon addressing you, and then Sally, and then followed by the family will ask or answer some questions.
Okay. Christian was my only son. He was the only grandson. He was a deep thinker and an avid reader. 6 months ago, he lent me his roommate's book on Buddhism and urged me to read it, which I did. We talked about the world and life. I lent him my 3D printer, and he made a lot of models I cherish, and I cherish a small plastic Beethoven bust he made for me, just somewhere around. He was always on my mind. He was always on my mind. The memories of him when he was younger, running around playing all his favourite sports, especially soccer and tennis. Building the arcade machine with him from scratch so that we could play all those old favourites that I remember. Making burgers together, seeing how much we could ram into one bun. I miss him so much. It's so unfair. Christian was only 22 when his life was taken from him. He was stuck on a small pile of rocks on the side of the road and called 911 for help. It was dark and he was really worried. He trusted the police to come and help him. Instead, they attacked and killed him. The killer shot Christian 5 times just to make sure. I've lost countless hours of sleep to the nightmares. It makes me sick. The officer that killed Christian showed a callous disregard for human life. He was a bully. Yet that bully is apparently back on the street and still serves today. Others on the scene failed to intervene to save Christian from the relentless assault. The Clear Creek County Sheriff is clearly not taking this seriously. Our son's life is extinguished and no one is accountable. What are other Colorado parents supposed to think? Might their son or daughter be next? The sheriff issued a press release at the time. We recently found out that it was false in almost every respect. Still, it did the job. It cast a pall over the funeral, a grotesque act of cruelty. This inexcusable account is still not corrected to this day. How can we trust the police to serve and protect with leadership like that? It has now been 3 months since Christian's killing. We have been more than patient. We have made no public statement before now. Christian's killing is a stain on Clear Creek County and on Colorado. It was a murder by a Colorado official. It cannot stand. It is not right. Christian was a gentle and polite boy. He worried a lot about what other people thought of him. I am very proud of what he did within his short life. He has left us with 1 million memories and a self-portrait that we will cherish forever. I must now spend the rest of my life trying to recover from this appalling, crushing loss. No one seems to know what to do here, but I can tell you what I'm looking for. It is justice. Justice. The people involved in this crime must be held accountable. For our family and for the peace of mind of hundreds of thousands of other parents in Colorado, I respectfully request justice for our son, Christian Glass. Thank you.
Our dear son had his life taken by Officer Andrew Bjorn on the night of June 10th. He had done nothing wrong. He was just too scared to get out of his car. He was a gentle soul with a big heart. He had so much more to give, and I miss him so much. He always gave these best, huge, enveloping hugs, and he would pull you tight into his chest. It would make you want it to last forever. I always said to him, you give the best hugs, and he said, I know. Kristen didn't have an aggressive bone in his body. He has never, ever hurt anyone. He was sensitive and he saw beauty in nature. He loved to take long drives up in the mountains to draw and to paint. He was actually just coming back from an art trip to Moab where he was prolific. His pastels, he was trying pastels, and he created over 20 pieces. On his way home, he stopped off at the Moab Rock Shop and spent too much money, where he bought some beautiful stones and also his rock tools. He loved art and was focusing on becoming an artist, honing his skills every hour he could. He was always so polite, so incredibly considerate. He never wanted to offend anyone or hurt anyone's feelings. He would open doors for you. When you got on the plane, he would always say, do you want the window seat? He was so sweet. He would offer you the last slice of cake. He was just never grabbing for himself. This is the pendant that was in his car, which was totally and utterly trashed when my friends retrieved it for me. And it's Mary and Jesus. And on the back, it actually is inscribed, pray for us. And I have to say, we have to pray for us. We have to pray for us in America to make this a less violent country. I think a lot of people now would agree that there's a systemic problem with policing. It's too aggressive. They escalate at every opportunity. And it looks like they're spoiling for a fight. No other industrialized nation comes even close to the amount of police killings that happen in this country. There seems to be just too many bad apples in the police, and they really need to be weeded out urgently because they carry so much power. They carry guns and they're licensed to kill with impunity and in large part, no accountability. Police talk about training, but really training's not enough. It's in the recruitment. You know, an aggressive bully is always going to be an aggressive bully, and I don't know how you can train that characteristic out. Pay more, elevate the status of the profession by getting rid of the rod, and hire people with kind hearts and a moral compass. The Clear Creek Police Force have behaved so badly every step of the way. Only a few hours afterwards, they put out a false report to the media, and no one even bothered to check for accuracy or for truthfulness. They stated the killer would be out on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. The CBI investigation's finished. It was took 6 weeks. That finished at the end of July. And finished at the end of July, and I know there's ongoing criminal investigations. Yet within a few days of Christian's murder, they actually put him back out. He's back out in the force with a gun in his pocket on duty. It's disgusting. Pray for our son. Pray for a structural change in policing in this country so these killings and beatings of the public stop. They should be protecting us, not attacking us. The police need to know if they act criminally, they will face charges and punishment just like the rest of us. This Heart Rock, among others, Siddhartha's got the big one. These heart rocks were in Christian's car, along with other rocks and precious stones. He just wished the world was more gentle and kind. He actually offered to throw his rock knives and his tools out of the window so they wouldn't be worried. But they told him no, and he obeyed. Christian was just petrified. He was paralysed by fear, but they had no empathy, and I'm so proud of him. And you know, there's a hole in my heart, and it will be there till the day I die. And what keeps me upright, and what keeps me putting one foot in front of the other, is to seek justice, and really to get that arsehole behind bars.
So excuse me. So the Glass family will take a few questions at this time. Do you need a moment?
No, we're okay. We're okay.
Senator Sally, could you tell us about the impact of the narrative as it was presented on you, on people's impressions of what happened to Christian over the last few months?
Oh, fucking
Yeah, I mean, we had a funeral here in Colorado and another in England, family.
We had to
We-
fly with his ashes in our backpack on the plane.
We, everything about it, no one talked about it because we weren't following the media, but it was, just meant that we couldn't talk about what actually happened because it was, it was, there's obviously something he did that, created this or whatever. And that's the only information we had. And so it was just so hard, and that's why we're very angry that it's never been corrected.
The only information we honestly had was the short statement that the police put out that was wrong, wrong in every way, but it didn't make sense to us because our son didn't carry weapons, they were rock tools, and he's never ever hurt anyone. So we were like, what? We were like, it just didn't make any sense.
But we assumed they must be telling the truth.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah,
Well,
that's
we
what we
did.
thought, yeah, because, yeah, we thought they were honest, but there you go.
Mr. and Mrs. Glass, building on what you said, can you share with us that initial phone call when you found out? And specifically how you were explained? I think you may have touched on it a little bit, but tell us about that first call and how they explained what happened.
Well, I was the first contact because he was on the call, but I had a police officer knock my door, and all he said was, "Your son is dead," and that's it. He just told me my son was dead, and then he left, and I was just on the floor, wasn't I, praying?
Okay.
And then Simon,
I came home and Sally was in tears on the front porch with a friend, and I phoned up the coroner, maybe, or somebody. I can't really remember, and
it was the sheriff, wasn't it?
maybe in the office. I'm not sure. I took some notes, and then at some point, when I got to what they said to me, I couldn't continue. I said I have to stop because it was just too horrible.
They
I
said,
hung
what
up.
did they say to you?
They said that I can't remember exactly. I wrote something down, but it was unfortunately the police had to defend themselves. I think was what I.
Your Christian came and attacked. Christian had
didn't
tried
s-
to attack, did he, with a
Yeah,
large knife?
they
or
didn't
something?
say necessarily that, but they definitely said that the police had to defend themselves, and so we took from that I imagined him, racing at them with them. I don't know what I thought. It was crazy.
Racing at them, attacking them, which of course we found out later he never got out of his car, and it was.
And then a friend carried on, phoned up later and got the rest of the story.
Could you take us through your reaction when you learned what actually happened?
It's a blur.
Well, I just couldn't believe it. And I have to say, I thought no one would kill anyone if they hadn't done something wrong. And we haven't watched the body cam footage because you can't unsee something, and I don't want that emblazoned in my mind. Till the day I die, I just don't. But I asked Siddhartha and Cusair watched it at the DA's office, and afterwards they told us he did nothing wrong. And I said, but he must have done. You don't just shoot someone 5 times if they haven't done anything wrong. But it made sense because he was never violent. He's never hurt anyone. But again, we kept thinking, how can you just kill someone when they haven't done anything wrong?
Simon and Sally, you mentioned that your son offered to throw the weapons out the car when police first arrived. Do you feel like if police had allowed him to do that, this could have all been avoided?
Exactly. Yeah. And he offered on the 911 call as well, so we did it twice. He told the lady on the 911 call, he said, if she asked him, do you have guns or knives? And I wish kind of, because they weren't proper knives, they were like rock knives, but he was really honest, and he said to the lady, who was very sweet, he said, I'll chuck them out the window. And so when the officers arrived, he said, well, I haven't watched it, but I've been told, he said, I'll chuck them out the window. And they were like, don't you touch your weapons. And they just got very aggressive with him. But I wish he'd ignored them and just chucked them out the window, absolutely.
Does your son have any history of mental health episodes?
No, I wouldn't say. He had suffered from depression. He found coming to America very hard to assimilate. So I would definitely say he suffered from depression, and he'd recently had a diagnosis for ADHD. But when I say paranoid, he was, like we said, he was always worried about sort of doing the right thing and not upsetting anybody. So whether you call that paranoid, I'm not sure, but not, I know he talked about skinwalkers. That was kind of a shock to us, wasn't it? It was, yeah, we were like, that's kind of weird.
Do you know if he was under any medication?
Ritalin for ADHD.
Police obviously thought your son was under the influence of drugs. Do you believe that, or do you think he was having a mental health episode?
No, he was having a mental health episode. I mean, he'd smoked. I mean, honestly, he's Colorado and he's 22. I mean, I think he smoked a bit of pot, you know, but nothing. He used to tell me off for drinking too much, honestly.
And the autopsy report, we're hoping to get that soon. And we're assuming that's probably going to confirm our belief that Christian was having a crisis, but that this was a crisis, not a something involving drugs.
Y'all mentioned that you won't be behind bars. What else does accountability and justice look like for you guys?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I've said, you know, if you commit a crime, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a member of the public, if you're a member of police force, I think we all have to be held accountable. And if this was a member of public that shot Christian 5 times, he'd be in jail, right? And so the fact that he's out in the police force within days shows that they just think it's all fine, you know.
One step towards accountability is all police departments across this nation condemning the killing of Christian, condemning the actions of these police officers from the moment they arrived all the way through Christian's death, and including the investigation with the muting of the body camera and the highly improper acts that happened there, all the way through this officer being put back on the street in uniform with a gun. Absent police departments across the country being willing to condemn this type of violence, this type of police brutality, then it's not an issue of a few bad apples. The barrel is then rotting. So if police departments, if when you go ask other police officers and they will not come out publicly and condemn this and stand up on the side of justice, then the barrel is rotting, not just 1 or 2 apples.
Startup news conference, we were told one of your goals is to correct misstatements. Which misstatement bothers you the most and why?
What we understand, the press release from the sheriff,
The first one
the first
that they...
one that we went through the funeral with.
It was the very first one. They issued it within a few hours because I think he passed away early on the 11th, and they actually reissued it on the 11th, so it was only within a few hours. Right?
Omissions are as bad as outright lies. Putting out statements that do contain outright lies, but also fail to include the entire narrative, fail to include the facts that they are the ones who were acting aggressive and attacked Christian, is an abject lie. There's lies, white lies, and omissions.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit about who he was. I know you said that he was He liked art, and he had sort of dabbled in rock, digging for rocks in Utah and that sort of thing. If there's anything else, like where he went to school, or anything else you can kind of say about his life, what kind of a person he was.
Well, he
Born in New Zealand.
born in New Zealand.
No.
But
He said he was conceived in Texas, but he was born in New Zealand.
and then 2 years in England, and then he'd been here 11 years. He went to school.
He was 10. So when we first came, Simon, we ended up here, not by accident, but Simon went for a job interview in London, and then they said, we'd love you, but we'd love you in America. So we came, so we ended up in California. We were in California for 3 years, and then he did 5th grade and middle school in California, and he found it hard to assimilate to America because he was very sporty, really, really good at sport, very athletic, and he didn't know how to do American football or baseball or any of that stuff, and so he kind of felt like his identity was lost a bit. So we tried to put him in a boarding school in New Zealand, where sadly he was bullied extremely badly, and so in the boarding house, not in the school, but in the boarding house, and so he came back, and then we moved to Colorado, and then he did middle school and Monarch High School, and then he's very clever, very high IQ, but I think it was his ADHD, he just found it hard to sit down. So that's why he went to Escoffier, he went to train to be a chef. And then he worked as a chef, but he really started getting into art, and he was passionate about art. So he was trying to figure out, he was actually just about to start a coding boot camp, because he could code, he did AP computer science, but because he could code, he was figuring that if he could earn more per hour doing that less, then he could have more time to do his art. But earning $15 an hour as a chef meant he had to work more, so he wanted to free up more time for art. So that was his plan, because you can do coding boot camps, I think, about 20 months, and get pretty good at it, and that's what his plan was.
So he was living in Boulder with a roommate or something?
Yeah, he really got red. He lucked out, didn't he? Really lovely guy.
Lafayette, yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys gonna stay in the US? What? Do you have any plans to move, or are you staying here?
Well, we have 2 daughters. Yeah, of course. I want to run away. I mean, that would be nice. But we have, ongoing, I'm sure that there's probably going to be a trial, and we have our daughters here that love it, and Simon loves his work, and, I have a really lovely life here until this happened, but I'm sure I'm going to go to England soon after this, actually, for a couple of weeks, and we'll probably spend a little bit more time just going to see our family. I'm from England, and Simon's from New Zealand.
Sally, you talked about a national conversation about police violence and how it has something become a part of your life as well. This is an obvious question, but did you ever anticipate you would be a part of this national conversation?
No, because we're just like this quiet family, aren't we? We're just this quiet family that just goes up, totally law-abiding. I've been pulled over for a speeding ticket. Like, that's the extent of our experience with the law. And, we're a very gentle, quiet family. So that level of aggression and those officers really wasn't in his world. He would have really struggled with that. That would have been outside his comfort zone, even to be spoken like that and treated like that. Like, he just wasn't used to it,
This is a quick follow-up. There's also been talks about having other people respond to these moments of crisis compared to just your standard deputies or police officers.
Oh, right.
Do you think that had the potential to change the outcome of this, if that were to happen?
I think Huzair said that even a kindergarten teacher could have got him out of that car. It's the fact that 7 officers pointed guns at him. I don't think I would have got out the car. Would you? I don't know. It's dark. It's the middle of nowhere. There's shining torches, and you've got the safety of your car. I'd be scared.
Those mental health crisis teams located in both Jefferson County and Boulder County, so within 30 to 45 minutes away. Considering the distances that law enforcement traveled from the 5 different departments to get to that location, a crisis response team could have easily been called. Or the officers could have left their number on Christian's windshield and simply
Walked away.
left, as a lot of experts are suggesting would have been the ideal situation, And even the Colorado State Patrol states, and that's in the, on the website and in the raw footage as well as in our compilation video, Colorado State Patrol states there is no crime here and there's no reason to continue contact. So we'll take one more question for the Glass family, and then Kusair and I can stay to answer any additional questions.
I'll ask you both this. I mean, you said you were angry with the sheriff's office for the narrative that they released. Are you angry at the media too for going with that narrative?
No, because they didn't know. Right?
Yeah, how can they know? We thought it was, we assumed it was true. Our family assumed it was true. What do you, I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Thank you.
Okay. Hannah, will you take them?
Or back.
Just a few questions.
Okay, we'll take one or two questions, and then we'll stay around to talk to you guys individually.
Gentlemen, this is not the first case you guys have had questioning tactics by law enforcement. Add for us, please, some perspective. You've watched the body camera video that we're going to put on the air tonight. I'd like to hear from both of you individually how this compares to what you've seen before.
You know, it's absolutely horrible. The video is hard to watch because you compare Christian's kindness in the video to the officer's initial aggression. And then you look at it from a police tactics point of view. And we have shown this to several police tactics experts. And every single one of them say it's a failure from start to finish. This is one of the most disturbing videos we have ever seen. And it should disturb the entire nation. Sarah?
No, that's good.
So just to be clear, Clear County doesn't have any kind of corresponder program or anything really connected to that?
I don't know at this point Clear Creek County's capacities, whether these officers had crisis response training, whether these they had anybody in the town who had that ability. What's clear though is if the officers would not have been so aggressive from the get-go, any kindergarten or teacher could have got Christian out of this car. It was their aggressiveness within seconds, putting tack strips behind his car, approaching him in such an aggressive way, shining lights on him, threatening to break out his windows within seconds or within minutes. That type of conduct is not policing. It's just bullying. And again, let's remember, Christian committed no crime. Even Colorado State Patrol say Christian committed no crime. It's not just us saying that. Christian committed no crime. He called for help and they killed him. Okay, we'll take
Anything
one
else?
more question.
You feel this is worse than the Elijah McClain?
It's not fair to compare one situation. They're horrible. These are horrible situations that have been going on in our country for centuries. And we are now starting to see it because of body camera footage that's being mandated in Colorado. Without the body camera footage, all we would have would be the misstatements and omissions put out by Clear Creek County. Okay.
There's a portion where one of the body cameras is shut down. What does that say to you?
When he mutes it. Officer Gold, who was one of the officers, it appears, that gave a command to breach the vehicle when he was off scene, arrives and does an investigation. And during his investigation, at critical points in the investigation, mutes his camera. He mutes his camera when he's interviewing other individuals who do not have body cameras. What does that say? What's going on? Why would you mute during those points in time? Besides, to make sure everyone's on the same page with the same story to cover up misconduct. Colorado SB 217 specifically addresses this issue of tampering with a body camera. And tampering includes the term mute. An officer may not mute their body camera during an investigation. Where it is an investigation involving an officer-involved shooting resulting in death, an officer shall lose their post-certification for life if they tamper, which includes muting, their body camera. We call upon the Colorado Attorney General's Office, the Post-Certification Department, the U.S. Department of Justice, all the agencies, the 5th Judicial District, to also investigate the officer for muting his camera and tampering with his body-worn camera.
You said, I can't help but notice you've been awfully quiet during all of this. You've been sitting there almost reflecting. What are you thinking, feeling right now?
You know, I've been doing this almost 20 years. Seen some of the worst things that have ever come through this state. I have never seen this level of poor policing. The decision making here, we could spend hours talking and discussing everything they did wrong and everything that they could have done. Right now, we are, like a lot of you, we've seen this video a lot. It is absolutely traumatizing to everyone. And we are absolutely resolved to get this family as much justice as possible. And we're angry. We're very angry.
Are you waiting on the autopsy before filing the lawsuit?
You know, I don't know. You know, there's going to be definitely discussions with the DAs about what they're going to do. The District Attorney's Office, Heidi McCullum, has been wonderful. She's been transparent. She's met with the family. She came all the way to Denver to meet with the family. Cole Finnegan from the U.S. Attorney's Office has also reached out, expressed his concerns. I don't think I need an autopsy to tell me that this is wrong and this is bad and these are a multitude of constitutional violations. He had something in his system probably, and it just doesn't matter at all.
I just want to clarify, the officer who turned off his body camera was a sergeant with Clear Creek Sheriff's, right?
That's our understanding. It was Officer Gould, Gould, who mutes his body camera during his investigation. It's our understanding he was a Clear Creek, probably watch commander, because he was on the radio. You can hear his name when you watch the body camera footage being over the radio traffic. And again, we've put on our website everything we have. We have put the raw body camera footage, the dash camera footage, the 911 call, the original press statement, pictures of Christians, artwork, our press statement, everything is there. The only thing we have edited from the videos is after Christian is removed from the car, we blur the screen where his body is on the ground and medical treatment is being provided to his body. We felt it wasn't appropriate to have Christian's naked body out there in the world. It's already disturbing enough. But that's the only thing we have changed in the video, is blurring his body after he's removed. So all the raw footage is there for the press, experts, law enforcement, the community to decide.
How has your experience been with the family? What has it been like to work with them?
You know, when you touch parental grief, there is nothing worse than losing a child. I think any of us here who have children will this is an easy call. There's nothing worse. These folks are going through something that most of us as parents don't even allow us to imagine. In our worst nightmares, if we start nightmaring about our children dying, we usually stop and wake up because it's so intolerable to even think about it. These family, Sally and Simon, are inspirational. And they're using this situation to raise awareness of something that we all need to raise awareness about. And so, yeah.
They don't want to be in the limelight. They are a private family. This took tremendous amounts of courage to stand here and speak to you and speak to the world about what happened.
You talked about the press release coming out from Clear Creek County. You have shown us the full extended versions of the body cam footage. In that original press release, they had stated that Christian was wielding a knife and attacking, basically. When you watch that video back and you see a knife in the hands, or at least you hear them say he has a knife in the hands, he's moving erratically after being tased, do you feel like that is not an accurate description of what happened in that moment when there's a reach around the back? And there's
It's absolutely not an accurate description. You have to look at this in its totality. You have to look at, even if you just take the breaking of the window portion of this on, you have to look that he didn't pick up the knife until they broke the window. They smashed in his window with a baton while other officers were laughing. That is how a non-threatening Christian was. They were joking around. It appears that some of the officers didn't even know they were about to smash in the window. And they smash in the window. Then they shoot him 6 times with beanbag rounds. These beanbags go at such a high speed that they shoot through and blow out the back window. Then they tase him from 2 sides with 2 tasers. Police do not have the right to harm people. If it ended there, it would be horrible.
I think when you speak to your police tactics experts, you will hear the terms, you may not create your own exigency, you may not create your own danger, you may not create your own jeopardy. Different departments use these type of verbiage.
If you're so scared of a knife, Christian even asked them, why are you scared of a knife? When he throws it away in the beginning. If you're so scared of a knife that you have to draw your gun, your police tactic experts will all tell you distance, cover, and time. If you have to draw your gun as a law enforcement officer, you do not stand right next to what you perceive as a threat. Distance, cover, and time. It's basic policing.
You talked to us about the process of obtaining the body cam videos.
Yeah, under the new rules, under SB 217, a surviving family has certain heightened rights to request this, and we submitted the request onto Clear Creek County District Attorney's Office, and they responded, as they should, under the law, and produced the videos to us.
Do you all know when Bean went back on the street?
You know, we've heard different things. We've heard 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, something like that. It's very short days.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll be around if you have any further questions individually. We're going to go check on the family. Thank you.
Can you just pronounce your name?
It's Siddhartha Rathod, Siddartha, Rathod, Rathod, and Hussain Mohammed Bai, and the spelling.